Hi, welcome back to Conversations on a Bench. I'm Kim Cook, and I have been sitting here since noon yesterday. And half an hour ago, I said, I feel great. I'm not so great anymore. I'm getting tired. Um, so I just want to, we're sitting here at the corner of South Main and First Avenue talking about the issues surrounding homelessness. And if you've been listening and want to support what we do, please do the QR code in the corner of the screen and donate. And we had some really generous corporate partners that came alongside us, and one of them is Belmont Cabinets. Uh, Through the night, we showed some of their commercials, and I just love their like what they do and who they are. And actually, Bell is on our board, and I just so appreciate their support. So they were a $5,000 matching sponsor. What that means is they're challenging you for the next hour between 8 and 9. Well, we're going to go 8. Yeah, do we have time to do 8 to 10? No, we'll do 8 to 9. To donate, for people to donate and match that 5,000. We would love it if somebody would do a $5,000 gift. But if not, just give what you can, and let's see if we can match what their generosity was. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our handle is Seattle BOLM. So thank you. And now I am here with a special guest. I haven't talked to him since January other than on LinkedIn. And I'm so glad to see you again, Joe Barsana.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm tired. So you're going to have to interview yourself. I'm just going to sit here and close my eyes.
I can do that.
and
I
let
feel
you
like
talk.
this is like season 2, Conversations on a Bench.
Yeah, right?
Next year you might have a Netflix special. I mean, you never know. You got
Yeah,
a whole
I
production going on here.
I don't know.
You never know.
I will tell you it's not going to be Hallmark.
Live streamers are like some of the biggest stars in the world right now.
Yeah. Yeah. They make pretty good money, don't they?
I think they do.
Yeah, okay.
But we
Well,
need you here at
we can
Butterfly.
look into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. Joe, you are a housing case manager at Seattle Drug Court, correct?
That's right.
Can you tell people what that is? And then we'll talk about why you do it.
Sure, absolutely. So it is King County Drug Court, but of course it's in
Yes.
Seattle. We work out of the downtown
right. Sorry.
courthouse over in right downtown on 3rd and James. So we work at the King County Superior Court. So yeah, Drug Court is a program that when people face kind of more serious charges due to a substance use disorder, it could be mostly property crimes. So mostly property crimes, burglaries, possession of stolen vehicles, things that typically people will do, kind of the disorder and chaos that we typically see. A lot of the retail thefts, more of the organized retail theft. So when people are doing higher amounts of retail theft, when people get these charges, if they're eligible, the prosecutor can offer them drug court, right? And drug court's a program. It's pretty complicated program, but more or less what the program is that if you can go to this program and finish the requirements of the program, and it's a 5-phase program, those requirements, of course, include sobriety, funding, recovery. We do ask people to be productive, so people typically become employed. But most of the time when people come into our program, they're the folks that you see on these streets out here. I'm a proud King County Drug Court graduate. I always like to say that. I lived on the streets of Seattle for a good 10 years, right? So Drug Court was the program that I really attribute to transforming and saving my life. So I decided, why not go work for the same program that saved my life, right? But when it comes to housing, we do have transitional housing. And I think we all know when someone's trying to stabilize, someone's trying to recover, a key piece to that is having some sort of housing. If you don't have housing, if you don't have a safe place to go, it's really difficult to stabilize, right?
Yeah.
If you live in a tent and you try to make it to your appointment, if you don't have a cell phone and you don't have reminders to make it to your appointments, these are all really critical things that drug court can offer folks so that they can easily stabilize, recover, and become better again. So once they basically complete the requirements of the program, that felony charge that brought them into the program actually gets dismissed.
That's great. That's great. I really believe in diversion programs. They're just, some people might think, well, if they did the crime, they should pay for it. But what do we really want in our society? Are we looking for people to pay, or are we looking for people to stop doing what they're doing.
I
And
think,
and
we're
I
looking for outcomes too, right? I
yes,
think putting
right?
someone back in jail, letting them release, in my experience, from what I always say, the most difficult challenge for a lot of folks that are out in the streets like myself who are using substances was, there's that you get caught, you get booked in jail, and then you're released. You get caught, you get booked in jail, and you're released. That's a cycle, and it continues and
And it's an
continues.
expensive cycle,
It's
isn't
an
it?
expensive
Yeah.
cycle. And do we want that outcome?
No.
I mean, diversion, the thing about diversion is, regardless of your ideology about how you feel about diversion or justice itself, right? I believe
Mm,
in justice itself. It has really good outcomes. And
right.
programs like LEAD, drug court, diversion programs, they have really good outcomes. And I
Mm,
think when folks are very serious about how their tax dollars are being spent, so they expect positive outcomes.
yeah. Joe, I love watching your posts on LinkedIn. And I was thinking, oh, I wish I'd had Joe bring a picture from before because it's just it's so real and raw to see your pictures. You were a scary dude.
I was a scary dude.
You really
And
were.
I think pictures are really important because it's really when you see folks on the street, that's what comes into your head. You see that I'm nervous, I'm scared, I feel uncomfortable at times walking
Hmm.
past people. I understand that, right? We want to remove that stigma, but we also have to be in the camp that says we understand that.
Yeah.
And when I show pictures of myself, 125 pounds, right, shaved head, coming off of heroin, sick, them having to hold me up into my booking photo because I was so
Really.
intoxicated. That shows that folks like that, when they are offered diversion programs, when they're offered significant treatment, housing, they can do better and we can recover.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you are just a case study of that. I mean, you have turned your life around. How long since you were in drug court?
I graduated drug court February of 2020, but October 29th, coming up, I'll have 7 years of sobriety,
Wow.
which I haven't had 7 years of sobriety
Congratulations.
since I was probably 13,
Oh, wow.
maybe.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's hard work.
It is hard. And that's the
Yeah.
other part of
It's
it. It's
hard work
hard.
every day.
Yeah, I mean the
Yeah.
pictures it shows a quick transformation, but that transformation is a lot of years of hard work, a lot of
Mhm.
times that you feel like you're going to give up, you want to give up, but you
Mhm.
don't give up.
Yeah.
A lot of support from organizations
Yeah.
like shelter support, housing support,
Mhm.
treatment support, mental health support. It's a very complex. I think that's the issue. Is it's very complex. It's not just remove the drugs and alcohol. Removing the
Mhm.
drugs and alcohol is the easy part because you can just throw me in jail, right?
Yeah.
That removes the drugs and
Right.
alcohol. It's the
Right.
complexity of the housing, of having relationships with programs like Bread of Life, and actually have a
Mhm.
support system that gets people to actually recover.
Mhm. Yeah. And likewise, when you remove the drugs and alcohol in somebody's life, you have to replace it with something, or it's going to come right back, right? So, what have you replaced it with?
I think that's one of the number one questions I get asked, and I actually do the crisis intervention training for newer officers coming into
Mhm.
this area. And what my number one answer is purpose. You have to find some sort of purpose, right? No matter
Mhm.
what it is, you have to find a reason why you want to wake up in the morning, right? There has
Mhm.
to be a reason. Some people, it's a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
Mhm.
Some people are obsessed and love playing sports. Some people
Yeah.
are like me who really want to give back. Some
Mhm.
people really like, to do art, to do different
Right.
things. There's a reason for someone to get up. I don't care if you
Mhm.
are a sandwich maker. Some people wake up wanting to be the best sandwich maker in the world, and that makes them
Mhm.
want to get up in the morning. And I found that that is what I was lacking, and that a lot of us was lacking. To me, it's helping others.
Mhm.
I get to. I mean, I'm so grateful that I actually get the opportunity to do exactly what who helped me. I get to do that
Right.
now.
Yeah.
But the other part is finding purpose through. To me, it's spiritual, right? Finding a higher power.
Mhm.
I hike constantly. I'm a big hiker. I go on mountains. I do
Mhm.
that. I like to challenge myself.
Mhm.
I think a lot of us in recovery, a lot of us are in extreme sports because we still like the thrill of
Yeah.
things, but
It's kind of its own drug, isn't it?
it is its own drug,
Yeah.
and it's that, like runners, long distance runners, they
Mhm.
call it a runner's high,
Mhm.
and you learn over time you can fulfill that piece that was missing inside that kind of drove you back
Right.
to substance use. A lot of it's trauma for a lot of people. How can we fill that hole that's caused by trauma, that's caused by
Mhm.
generational poverty and
Yeah.
chaos and violence? How do we get folks to kind of fill that hole so that they can become whole again? That's the
Right.
question.
Right. And one of the things that we say here is that we're all born with a God-shaped hole in our hearts, and that we try to fill it with everything, right? It might be drugs, it might be shopping, it might be workaholism, and all of the things, right?
Absolutely.
And nothing fills that hole.
Absolutely.
And so we teach them that God can fill that hole.
And that's a big belief
And
in
then
Alcoholics Anonymous too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And then you feel whole. You
Yeah.
feel like a whole person, and you can respond to life that way.
Yeah, and you find that when folks do, you can see a light turn on in someone's
Mhm.
eyes, when you feel like that hole gets filled through whatever it may be that they find
Mhm.
purpose through, whatever spiritual purpose,
Mhm.
spiritual awareness, whatever it may be, I think you see that transformation. And
Mhm.
that's the neat part about folks who come into our program is they come from the streets, they're unhoused,
Yeah.
they don't have that light on. They're going through a lot of
Right.
chaos, a lot of misery. And then I always say, right in the middle of our program, phase 3, we do something called the empowerment plan. I love the empowerment plan, and I love the word empowerment because I feel like that's what happens when the light turns on. It's like they start realizing that A, I don't have to do drugs and alcohol anymore. That's really important. B, I can actually fulfill my life without alcohol and drugs anymore. And then they start finding these little things. And it's really neat to see people reunite with their children,
Yeah.
reunite with their families, get
Mhm.
their first driver's license. Like,
Yeah.
for me, that was incredible. I was driving around in stolen cars, no license, no insurance for so many years.
Yeah.
When I first got my driver's license, it's a big deal.
Because there was freedom in that, wasn't there?
There was.
Nobody was chasing you down. You were totally legal to be able to be doing that and to enjoy it.
It's freedom, absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of power in freedom. There's a lot of power, and I think, and that's what it's
Mhm.
about, helping folks gain their independence, no matter what that independence
Mhm.
may look like. How do we help them? Recovery is getting better.
Yeah.
It's getting better. There's recovery from so many different things. You can be in recovery from cancer. You can be in recovery from
Right.
substance use disorder, from mental health disorders. What are we doing to help folks get better? And some people, that what their expectation of what they would like to do is going to be different than ours sometimes. And I think
Right.
supporting people is important. Last time we did talk about accountability, and I think that's another important part. But, to
Mhm.
me, it's about accountability really drives people's empowerment, right?
Right.
When you ask somebody to do something and have an expectation for them in our court, you say,
Mhm.
hey, in the last phase of the program, we need you to be productive. And then you see somebody get that job and you see them starting to go to work every day. There's someone in my mind that I used to run with on the streets for a long time. He's in the program now. And I got to see him come in, struggle like we all do, stabilize, and get better day by
Mhm.
day by day. And now he works for the Seattle Conservation Corps, the city of Seattle, right? And
Wow.
this is a guy who probably hasn't had many jobs in his life,
Mhm.
and he is thriving. And that's what it's about. And I think when we see folks walking down the street, when we see folks who are out here suffering, it's tough. It's a tough thing,
Yeah.
but it's also a complex thing. But
Mhm.
what I thought about before coming in here today is like the complexity of our homeless state
Yeah.
out here in Seattle. But to me, it's very complex, but it's also simple. It's
Mhm.
what really jumps out to me is I call it the answer the phone philosophy. When I have someone in drug court and I have nowhere to put them for the night, I
Mhm.
contact Bread of Life. What does Bread of Life do? They answer the phone and they say, "We got a bed for you." Right?
Mhm.
There's organizations like that are so critical to, I think, the importance of getting people
Mhm.
stabilized and getting people housed. Right?
Mhm.
If you hand someone out in the street a business card that says "Call 211," good luck with that. Maybe they don't even have a cell phone to
Mhm.
begin with. Right? So I think, thinking about it, a lot of these agencies that have been just doing outstanding work are Bread of Life, who are out here boots on the ground. You have a lot of organizations in the Pioneer Square area,
Mhm.
boots on the ground. We have the Care Team, which I think you're going to
Yeah.
talk to Amy Barton, or
I talked
did.
to Amy yesterday
She's my
at
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
She's
Amy.
incredible.
Yeah.
But, the Care Team, who you pick up the phone, someone answers, and they send someone
Mhm.
to help. It's not, here's a business card, go to this
Right.
address, go figure it out, right? There's people that are immediately there to help, right?
Right.
And I remember one time, there was a period of my life where I stayed on Pack Highway in Federal Way. There was one moment where I stopped and I looked up in the sky and I said, I really need help. I
Mhm.
want to do something different. I didn't know what to do. There's really no places over there like that.
Mhm.
If I call 911, they're going to tell me, why did you call 911
Right.
if it's not an emergency, right? And I remember walking down and it was raining and it was miserable and I was dope sick from heroin and
Mm,
I just wanted help and I couldn't figure out where to go. And the cool thing is there's so many new open doors.
they really
There's
are.
so
Yeah.
many cool new open doors.
Well, and we expect people to just fix it, but why would we expect that when they've never lived that? They need somebody to walk alongside them and show them what it looks like, so that then they can emulate that. And if they've never been there, they need somebody to guide them.
And I'm so happy that you recognize that, right? And I think
Hmm.
the lived experience, how you guys use your model, someone goes through your program, they get help, then they help others, right?
Right.
Same with, peer support. Peer support's something I advocate for strongly, right?
Hmm.
It is that connection
Yeah.
because when someone's struggling, they don't want someone who they cannot connect with to tell them
Hmm.
or feel like they're judged to say, this is what you need to do.
Right.
But if you have me and you're in drug court and you say, well, listen, Joe, you don't understand, I can say, well, look at those pictures on the wall of my booking photos. I
Yeah, I
do
understand.
understand, and I can
Yeah.
tell you we can walk through this together.
Hmm.
That's a really big part. I think that's a really big part of
Yeah.
a lot of the work that folks are out here are doing is we're showing people that it
Hmm.
can get better. And I know it can be tough because folks walk around and you feel like it's never ending. The cool thing about our jobs,
Hmm.
we get to see that success. We get
Yeah.
to see people come out of it. We
Yeah.
get to see that rotation and people become successful and people get a
Hmm.
job or people get permanent housing or people get stable and on their current
Hmm.
medications and the things that they need to do. We
Yeah.
get to see that. And I think it's wonderful to see.
Yeah, it so is. And even the little things, like seeing somebody, you said about medications, like seeing somebody just get healthy,
Healthy.
right? Like get their teeth fixed, get their glasses, have their face fill out, maybe lose weight. One of our guys several weeks ago moved out, and let me tell you, a year and a half ago, I remember him at one of our house meetings. He was a pain in the butt. He was sitting in the back, just speaking up, being annoying, and I just, had to stop myself from thinking, this guy is just not going to make it.
Yeah.
And he somewhere it turned, and he got a job. He's got a good job, and then I had kind of lost track of him because once they start working, I don't see them as much. And he stopped me at the door one day and said, "Thank you." And I'm like, "Why?" Because I
Yeah.
remembered him as that complainer. And he said, "For all you guys have done, I have a job, I'm saving money, and I'm waiting for an apartment. I should be moving out in another week."
It's incredible.
And he moved out.
Yeah.
And you know, I saw him the next day, and I was like, now I was looking for him, and I went, "Wow, you've lost weight, you've cleaned up, you look great." And it's part of becoming healthy.
It is.
Yeah, and
Everything that we need, or people, us in recovery call normies need, everything that folks need in life is what they need as well, right?
yeah,
Dental care. Try getting off of drugs if your tooth is throbbing, right?
yeah,
And you're using heroin or using opiates or fentanyl to kind of subside a lot
right,
of the pain going on.
right.
It's really difficult, right? Try just getting basic medical care, right? That's the complexity
Hmm.
of it, is that there's just so many different reasons how somebody becomes whole again, right? There's a
Right.
lot of different things, and health is really an important one. Yeah, we get to see that, but I think the other part of that too is that's another great part about working in this field is you never can judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
I have same people will come
Yep.
in and they're yapping at me and they're like, and I in my head too, well it's going to be a tough road for this person.
Yep.
A lot of those people end up becoming the most successful.
Right.
I should know that because I was one of those people.
Right. Exactly. I think we need to look past the person in front of us.
Absolutely.
Look at them, but look past them and see who they were meant to be. I
Absolutely.
don't want to say who they could be because that's kind of putting it on it, but who are you meant to be?
Who are you meant to be?
And to become their real self.
And sometimes it takes someone to ask somebody though, what are you meant to be?
Yeah.
That's such a really important question that it's really difficult to think about those things, those grand macroscopic ideas when you're on the street
Mhm.
suffering, right?
Yeah.
When you're on the street suffering, you could care less. Even though you probably don't even know who the president is, who couldn't
You
care
couldn't
less,
care. Yeah.
because you're on the
It's
streets
not
and you're
affecting you.
suffering, right? But
Yeah.
when you start to stabilize, you get to do that almost human enlightenment. You get
Yeah.
to start understanding, who am I? What is
Right.
my relationship to the community? What is my relationship? How do I fit?
Yeah.
What piece of the puzzle do I fit in? And when you start figuring that
Mhm.
stuff out, you see people transform,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And housing's a really important piece of that, for sure.
Yeah.
Housing's a really critical piece. If someone doesn't have somewhere safe to go,
Mhm.
it's just so hard. You know how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, specifically know.
Well, and we were talking in one of my other interviews about neuroplasticity, and when somebody's on the streets or wherever before they come into us, they are dealing with everyday emergencies like
Hmm.
real crises. Where am I going to find food today? Where am I going to sleep tonight? And the kind of thing that needs to be fixed today. And they're so like that's how they process everything. And if it's not something that's urgent today, it'll wait until tomorrow, and then it's an emergency, right? And and what I find is that when people come in and they start to feel safe and process things, it takes a long time really to help them get to where they can think further ahead and they can process goals, and that it's going to take a while to get to that goal, and how do you break it down? Like
It's
they
goal.
lose that.
Absolutely, goal setting is so important, and
Yeah.
again, it's so difficult, right? For me, in my experience, how I was able to get stronger was through routine
Yeah.
and through building practice through that routine. Just like
That's
you
good.
said, if you're on the street and you do not have any routine, because every
Mhm.
single day is different, because every single meal is different, every single way you earn a dollar is different, every single place that you sleep is different. So there's
Yeah.
no way to actually build any type of routine,
Mhm.
any way to build kind of a system that you can actually look back to see that if there's any progress, right?
Right.
And again, what's your motivation for any of that goals? If your only goal is to not feel sick that day, if your only
Yeah.
goal is not to freeze to death, right? That's
Right.
if
Right.
that's your main goal, I understand that you're going to do whatever it takes to
Mhm.
follow that goal.
Yeah. I want to ask you another question before we finish. And you know when somebody is addicted, especially to opioids, it changes their brain, and especially the pleasure centers.
Hmm.
Do you want to talk about that?
I think that's one of the biggest part of recovery, right? Is
Hmm.
the reward centers, almost the
Yes.
pleasure centers, right? What through this action, I'm going to feel better, right?
Hmm.
I'm going through trauma. I'm going through crisis. What's the best way to get out of that trauma, crisis, and pain? Well, usually it's the shortest way, the fastest way, which technically is
Hmm.
going to be substances. And for opiates, right? Opiates is a painkiller. The word
Right.
painkiller, right? It removes the pain from yourself, and you start to build these systems that show that this is the only way that you can feel good,
Right.
happy, right? And that not only is it mental, it becomes physical, right? Because now if I don't use it, I become sick and I don't feel good.
Right.
So that is how the cycle starts. When people
Hmm.
say, well, I know I'm going to be sick because I smoked fentanyl 2 hours ago, the last time I smoked.
Hmm.
I'm going to be sick very soon. What do I need to do to get more fentanyl? And that's how that
Yeah.
cycle starts, right? Because
Right.
they're seeking that reward system. They're seeking to
Hmm.
get out of pain, to get out of suffering. So they're going to go into a store and steal. They're going to go to
Right.
the Target and downtown. And you're going to steal,
Hmm.
and you're going to go and you're going to sell the items, and then you're going to
Hmm.
get the fentanyl, and then that reward system shows you that that's what you need to do to feel better. So, and
Right.
that's the cycle, and it
Right.
continues and it continues.
And the other thing that it does is it actually deadens pleasure for everything else, doesn't it?
It does. Absolutely it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, let's say a parent who loves their kids, but they are addicted to fentanyl. All of a sudden, like a hug from that child is not pleasurable anymore, right? It's like it kills all the other pleasure, uh, and it can come back. From what I've heard, it comes back,
It does come
but
back.
but but it takes a while to
It
do
takes
that.
a while, and that's why I think they see the longer that someone is in recovery, the higher success rate they do have, right?
Yeah.
Because the biochemical things in your brain are actually working better. You're feeling better. The circuits are firing again. You
Yeah.
can find pleasure. But yeah, it's difficult. I'm really happy. There's a lot smarter people than me who are working on medical
Yeah.
cures and medications that really kind of
Mhm.
speed that process
Yeah.
up, right?
Mhm.
I think that's been it's the gold standard, but it's really helped a tremendous amount of people because, first off, we don't want people to be suffer and be miserable,
Right.
right? When you ask someone to be in recovery, you shouldn't be asking them to be miserable, to suffer,
Like
right?
to want to die.
Right? Yeah, like there's a thing in the recovery world that like, well, I broke my leg, I can't take painkillers. No, 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 no. You broke your leg. You should. That's
Yeah.
okay because
Yeah.
you're in pain. There's a big difference between that and something different that we're talking about. But yeah, we see that quite
Mhm.
often. But the neat part is that we have this you know, huge community of people coming together to work together. Very smart people,
Mhm.
providers like us who come out and kind of dedicate our lives to helping others. And this combination and this continuum of care that we continually see in this area and in other areas, hopefully more rural areas too, because I know they're
Mhm.
suffering out there. Um, that's why we're kind of seeing success.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm really glad for people like you who have lived experience and a passion to help people because that's what we need. We need people who are passionate about others and to stop people from going down that rapids.
I agree.
And so I'm glad you're
And
there
we
and
appreciate you.
yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. We appreciate you and all the work that your team
Mhm.
does.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yep, there's some great partnerships.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks for being here. And remember that we are in a challenge hour. That anything you donate right now will go toward a matching challenge for Belmont Cabinets. They donated $5,000, and we are trying to match that in this hour. So between now and 9 o'clock, I hope you'll consider donating. And we are going to be back shortly with I'm not even sure yet what's going on in the next half hour, but I'll be back and hopefully a little more with it than I am right now.
Donate, donate.
Yeah, thank you. We'll be right back. Thanks.